And it's my great pleasure to introduce Amish Tripathi, the director of Nehru Center, back on stage for another cracking panel.
My pleasure to welcome the panelists for the next subject that we will be discussing, the timeless connection supporting new, young and diverse art and leadership. At the beginning, Amruta Fadnavis ji, banker, musician and social activist from India. We could have you up on stage, please. Jaideep Gupte, Director of Research, Strategy and Innovation at AHRC, UK. And Alexandra Buchler, Director of Literature Across Frontiers. How about if I start with you, Jaideep? If we have to take forward culture for the young, among the things that's thought of is their tastes are very different, could be very different from those pressing the green light on what gets produced, what gets displayed, what gets showcased. How do you bridge that gap?
Thanks for that question, Amish. I take people can hear me at the back. I noticed the room is thinned out considerably after Puno has left, which is fair enough. Let me just quickly introduce sort of who the organizations that I represent today. So some of you may know already, others may well not, but the UK Research and Innovation is a family of organizations that brings together the 7 research councils, the disciplinary research councils, together with Research England and Innovate UK. So we're a broad, diverse family, and I'm the Director of Research for the Arts and Humanities Research Council. So with our broad remit across arts and humanities disciplines. So I suppose I take your question to also mean the sorts of, how do future leaders get represented in the sort of research we fund. So a couple of things first. Recognizing that India is a long-standing but also continued and growing priority for the research and innovation landscape. Because there's a sense of deep shared cultural heritage, a sense of knowledge exchange between India and the UK. And within this, what we as a council are very keen to prioritize, indeed is central to our vision, is a route to diversify the sorts of voices that sort of situate, drive the research and innovation ecosystem. Now, how do we do this? For us, creativity as a method is absolutely central, and we recognize that creativity doesn't sit in universities alone. It is a broad and diverse landscape, and it is fast changing. The ways in which people are connecting, the ways in which people are innovating, the ways in which people are creating content is remarkably different. So for us as the Research Council to keep up is to be attentive to what the needs of the research community really look like. We're trying to have a new sort of framework of grants that allows a flexibility. So one thing that we've really recognized is that the sort of Research Council system of funding is quite exclusive. It tends to fund those that have already been funded. So how can we be bold and support the new voices? How can we be bold to support those that have chosen non-traditional career paths, where creators, artisans, artists at the center of innovative, team-led, interdisciplinary collaborations. But they don't necessarily have to prioritize research at every stage of their life. I think we as research councils need to understand that and allow that flexibility for the artists, the artisan, the creators to really drive us towards what we see funded. Just to not belabor this point, but to the back end of this is to ensure that how we review those proposals, the grant applications that come through, is also deeply important. It's fundamental to recognize. We were just having a chat in the audience around lived experience. Now, lived experience drives creative content in a way that's so recognizable out there in the real world. But in our systems, our processes of review, it often gets left out. So as a council, we're deeply prioritizing including lived experience experts. So these aren't your traditional professors, these aren't your traditional academics who spend their lifetime acquiring expertise in a field. These are experts who've acquired their experience through their lived experience. And we want to bring them at the center of how we make our grants, and hopefully this will create a more diverse pool of those that receive our funding, and solidifies those.
Only through diversity of experiences can you have diversity of culture and thought.
Precisely, and that is not to say that there isn't this long tradition of deep cultural heritage that you share across the country.
Amruta ji, a question that comes to you when you're when we're speaking of timeless connections, the music that you make, the work that you do, does tend to appeal to the youth. So, question that comes on any artist who's trying to appeal to the youth, that there is a supposition that they don't have much attention span. That they don't have much attention span. They're scrolling up their Instagram reel, they'll give you 5 seconds. If you've caught their attention, good. If not, too bad. Right? There simply isn't enough time. How does an artist combat that?
First of all, a very good morning to Shri Amruta Tripathi, Amish Tripathi, and my co-panelists, Dr. Jaideep and Ms. Alexandra. It's an honor to speak here in front of like-minded people who are here to create synergies and see into how we can provide better opportunities to art in its diverse forms. As you said that yes, opportunities are new with the new digitization and with internet. In fact, India has 120 billion plus mobile users and 600 million plus smartphone users. So accessibility has increased definitely. But at the same time, as you said, there are so many options and people from all over are showcasing their talent, and the connoisseurs are coming ahead and absorbing different talents. So it is the game of the best win. Whenever you watch certain things, there are so many options you have. And what appeals to you, strikes to you most, is what works the most. So when you have more opportunities, definitely the competition is definitely more. So we have to be ready for it, toughen for it, and it's the same way that India is doing it. The world looks at India as a young, new kind of power, but I feel it is existing, the power is existing since the civilization itself. So it is a resurgent power in every sense. If you watch the figures or the rise in terms of the publishing, in terms of movie making, in terms of music, in terms of handicrafts and arts and culture, it is astounding. So the credit to this is definitely to the new message which India is giving, that we have arrived, we enjoy and we take pride in our indigenous local aspects, and we do not follow any hierarchical system anymore. So I think so it is about having the pride for yourself and showcasing your best talent that will catch the eyeballs.
Very, very interesting interview. Thank you for that, Amruta ji. Alexandra, if I can come to you with your experiences through literature across frontiers. What is the status of diversity in global literature at this point in time? Are there enough diverse voices coming up. There was a controversy recently on the Booker Prize as well, but it's not just in terms of awards, even in terms of readership, in terms of the books being promoted by publishers, having different voices from across the world. Where do you think that is, and how do you think it can be improved?
Well, that's a very good question.
That's assuming you think it's a good thing. I'm assuming you don't think it's a good thing.
It's something we deal with on an everyday basis as an organization. We were set up 22 years ago, and we are actually based in Wales. And so I also feel that I represent Wales here. And I would like to thank you for the invitation. It's really wonderful to be here, and I'm pleased to be here with my panelists talking about different art forms. So you're asking about diverse voices. Well, speaking from the position of someone who lives in Britain and in an English-speaking environment, and of course I should stress that Wales is a bilingual country, and the Welsh language is very much used. It's used by writers, it's used by emerging writers a lot, and this is something we support. And we, our main aim at the moment, it has been like that for some years now, is to internationalize the careers of emerging writers. We were set up, to go back to the beginnings, we were set up with actually support from the European Commission. And that is significant because we worked across Europe, and we developed a kind of strand of work where we connected European literary scenes with the scenes of the various global regions. So Asia is one of them, and primarily India. We have also worked quite intensively in the Middle East and with the Arabic-speaking region. And our work in India started almost 15 years ago. We were invited to run a workshop which was supported by the British Council, and the aim of that workshop was to showcase multilingualism of the UK. So we had, it was a poetry translation workshop, quite a kind of intimate thing. We stayed in the wonderful Nimrana fortress and in the lap of luxury. And then we went and presented what emerged from the workshop in the Jaipur Literature Festival, which was then, very new. And then we went to the Prakriti Festival Poetry Festival in Chennai, and then to Pune. And that was really the start of, it kind of set the course of what we were doing or have been doing since then. Now, to return to your question, in the English-speaking territories, there is still, we talk, in literature we talk about the famous 3% problem, which is that only 3% of published books are translations. So when it comes to discussing diversity of voices, there is still a sense that there is enough diversity in what's written in English. And so translation is still kind of something that's seen as minor, as a niche effort, and in Britain translations are mainly published by independent publishers. Fast forward to last year's Booker International, and we had a book. For the first time, the Booker International is awarded to an author who writes in Hindi and her translator. And I'm speaking about Gitanjali Shri and Daisy Rockwell.
We should all applaud for that book.
Yes.
Those who haven't read it, please do read it.
And what that meant for me, as an observer of the scene, was that yes, an Indian language has been awarded a book originally written in an Indian language has been awarded for the first time, and of course the translator is awarded as well. But it also awarded a book which deals with one of the big themes, really, through a life of one woman. And that's significant as well, because this is what we get from literature, this is what we learn. Recently, William Dalrymple said on Twitter, I follow him quite a lot, something about how little we know about Asian history and how we don't learn about it.
But if I may, sorry to cut in, if I may, just one thing on this, on getting different voices heard. Just the example of Wales itself. The Welsh government supports it strongly, the language. So is it that actually you need the strong support of governments to get different languages heard?
Yes,
and those
yes,
that don't
and that
get
would be
suffer?
really my point. That we need more investment in this whole field. I usually refer to literature as the Cinderella of public funding, because there's still this sense that a writer just needs a pen or a pencil and maybe a little computer. And now, of course, when AI writes novels, we can probably dispense with the author completely. But no, joking aside, yes, multilingualism, bilingualism, translation really needs investment, and I would like to refer to the very important research study that the British Council commissioned on the Indian literature and publishing scenes, and I recommend that everybody reads it. It's very informative, and it has a set of really strong recommendations, which I hope will be all followed.
Coming to you, Jaideep, very quickly, if literature is the Cinderella of the arts, and we need a prince to find the... but coming back on building a bit on that point, that government support is critical, then even in research, is it that the power of an economy makes a difference? India has a stronger economy now, so Indian ideas emerge. There may be good ideas somewhere else, and the economy isn't strong enough of that country and they suffer. What do you think of that?
No, absolutely, Amish. That's a very well put question. Alexandra, just on your point on the Welsh language, I recently spent a bit of time with the Welsh Future Generations Commissioner. Wonderful exposition of how policy making can really be forward-looking, and in a way that's actually practical, right? So if those in the audience don't know about it's the best title to have, to be the Future Generations Commissioner for Wales. Derek Walker has just been appointed, and wonderful set of ideas there in terms of how policy can be practical. Your point on recognizing that ideas can occur anywhere in the world, that's absolutely true. We, the AHRC, along with the British Council, Innovate UK, the Department for Business Trade, IPO in India, recently funded a scoping study on the creative industries, where you could really see the might of a sector that in the first panel you heard was described as informal. Yes, there's lots we don't know about it. What we do know about it is that it's deeply aspirational. People want to work. It's deeply impactful in terms of how many jobs are created, the sorts of volume of turnover that is being created in India, in the UK, globally. Now, how do we spot ideas that are in this type of an ecosystem is almost as difficult as how we spot good ideas in an ecosystem where perhaps there isn't this sort of economic might driving it. I think we need to stay true to recognizing that our public research funding has a societal purpose. I think that's a starting point, because otherwise you fail to miss out on where society is headed, and that's quite dangerous. Another and slightly different tone is recognizing that it is indeed an ecosystem. And as I say, for us, the creative method, creative spaces. So for us, creative spaces are galleries, libraries, archives, museums, theaters, concert halls, stadia, your street corners, right? So huge range. are central, but it's an ecosystem, a research ecosystem that's required with a role for universities, a role for creative spaces, as well as a role for industry.
True.
And if we can link those three things up, regardless of the scale of the economic consequences, I think there's good ideas to be.
We'll get some. And if I may come to you, Amrutaji, for the final question, you spoke very rightly of the massive internet revolution in India, and there are many Indians who are experiencing the internet for the first time through mobile phones. How does that open the space for artists, singers, writers? Because has it democratized art in a way?
Definitely, internet has made it possible that the local artist reaches international levels. That is because of the kind of reach he is getting through internet, through digitization. Here I must mention that we had a song which is called Natu Natu. It got international recognition through Oscars. And it was widely recognized in platforms like these, and many more new platforms coming up give them opportunity to go ahead and compare themselves to the best of best. In fact, I must mention here one thing more, that promoting from within, like India promoting tourism from within, or giving the mandate, any country giving mandate to its high commissioners or diplomats to have to institutionalize cultural festivals would go a long way in showcasing the art which each country has and amalgamating people. Like, I'll give you an example. G20, as you know, India is presiding over it currently. What the Pune Municipal Corporation did when there was a delegation there, it had a heritage walk for the delegates across Pune, wherein it covered places which were not known at all, like Dagru Shade, Lal Mahal and all. So it is about being brand ambassadors to your own culture. It is about people-to-people contact. It is about letting others know that yes, you are there and you have the pride in your culture and you are taking care of it. So I think so we have to, with this kind of digitization, yes, we can market it very well. We can market our myths, we can market our messages, but finally it is on the kind of conviction you have for your product, for your environment, which will later help person-to-person marketing even more.
Wonderful, wonderful thoughts to end with. I think as the cultural economy grows, deeper, and we have more diversity of thoughts or languages, you'll find that we will build the timeless connections that will make the Indo-UK bond a lot stronger, and of course India and the UK's influence across the world a lot stronger as well. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much. A wonderful timing. Thank you so much.